So why do we need evidence-based healthcare? Let me just give you an example of the saga of King Charles II. I know you don't have too many kings, you know, but it's, I guess our kings are kind of like your president. Is that how that works? I'm not sure. So I'm just going to recount to you a story. So here's why we need evidence-based healthcare. This is King Charles II. I'm going to recount to you the final days of King Charles II. Here's his resting state right here. And we think he died of malaria, but we're not really sure. And at that time, his chief physician kept a diary of what went on. So this is well recorded. We know what happened to this fellow. So this was the beginning of the end for poor Charles. On the morning of February the 2nd, 1685, King Charles II of England was preparing to shave when he suddenly cried out in pain and fell to the floor and started having fits. When that happens, what should you do? What do you think would happen? Well, 6 royal physicians rushed in and administered emergency aid. Now, these are the best guys, right? Because you got all the money and you get the best guys. So they all came in rushing in. And so what they did is, on Monday, and please notice that, that's very impressive. I hope you're impressed with that. They drained or cupped 16 ounces of blood. They then applied heated cups to the skin, which formed large round blisters in order to what they call stimulate the system.
Sure did.
And then they let out 8 more ounces of blood. And then they induced vomiting to purify his stomach, gave him an enema to purify his bowels, made him swallow a purgative to clean out his intestines. Because if the bad stuff wasn't in the blood, where was it? It's in your bowels, right? So you got to get rid of all that sort of stuff. So they kept going. They then force-fed him a syrup of blackthorn and rock salt. They shaved his hair and put blistering plasters on his scalp. And the king regained consciousness. And as all good clinicians, the treatment seemed to be working, so you kept at it. It's one of the biggest problems we have. No matter what you do, your patients tend to get better. And you go, boy, I'm good. And then they die and you go, that was their fault. So it was working, so they gave him another enema. They then applied an irritant powder up his nostrils and put more blistering plasters on his skin and powdered cowslip flowers to the stomach. And then they got some special plasters made from pigeon droppings were attached to his feet. And after 12 hours of care, they put the ailing king to bed. On Tuesday, he awoke and seemed much improved, and the attending physicians congratulated themselves and continued the treatment.
High five.
Yeah. So they let 10 more ounces of blood by opening both jugulars. They gave him a potion of black cherry, peony, lavender, crushed pearls, and sugar.
Sounds nice.
And they said Charles slept for the rest of the day and throughout the night. On Wednesday, he awoke and had another fit, and because it had worked before, they bled him again. They gave him cenopods in spring water and white wine with nutmeg. Nice touch. Then they force-fed him a drink made from 40 drops of extract of human skull of a man who had met a violent death, because we do know, and you probably, if you read New England Journal last time, if it's not a violent death, it just doesn't work. And they made him eat a gallstone from an East Indian goat. And then they proudly announced that King Charles was definitely on the road to recovery. So when you have 6 royal physicians telling you you're on the road to recovery, what's likely happening? Yeah, you're not doing well. So on Thursday, the king was near death. He was blistered again, rebled, repurged, and given another enema. He was given Jesuit's powder, which was a controversial malaria remedy which had quinine in it, and was also laced with opium and wine. Finally, something that I would want when I'm dying, which is opium. And I love this, his doctors were mystified by the king's weakening condition. He has no blood. So on Friday, Dr. Scarborough wrote, and I don't know, Mark was saying all your charts are electronic. So, but see what he wrote. I don't know if you start off your charts when you have to write a note. I would start it off like this. It's nice. It gives a nice touch. Alas. It comes from the heart. And he said, after an ill-fated night, His Serene Majesty's strength seemed exhausted to such a degree that the whole assembly of physicians lost all hope and became despondent. And King Charles wasn't doing well either. So on Friday, showing no improvement, the king was bled almost bloodless. They scoured the palace grounds and created a last-ditch antidote containing extracts of all the herbs and animals of the kingdom and poured ammonia down his throat. And then they ordered Plavix and Norvastat. Oh no, that's what you guys do.
Yeah.
And on Saturday, the king was dead. So I've tried to present that in a sort of a humorous fashion. I'm trying to figure out the difference between that and torture. But back then, that's what the treatment was. And I don't know what's going to be happening in 300 years, but I would imagine there'll be some mind meld thing that we'll all be doing. but we'll still be laughing. You'll go, you know what they did then? They lowered cholesterol. And they'll be laughing in your faces because it was such a funny thing to do. So you got to realize a lot of what you're doing, people are going to think is very, very weird and funny and torturous. We're getting better, and we want you to encourage you to use evidence, but realize that it's not all everything that it seems to be.